and the Dean of the CARICOM Heads of Mission in Canada. I'm happy to welcome you to the 2020. I'm happy to welcome you to the Canada CARICOM Policy Forum. The CARICOM-Canada Policy Forum is a yearly event organized by the CARICOM Heads of Diplomatic Mission in Canada. It's a platform that brings together experts and policymakers from the Caribbean and Canada to reflect on topics that are at the center of relations between CARICOM and Canada. Before launching this forum, I would like to express my gratitude to two former colleagues who actively contributed to make it a success. The former High Commissioner of St. Kitts and Nevis to Canada, Her Excellency Sherry Tross, former Dean of the CARICOM Caucus in Ottawa, and the former High Commissioner of Jamaica, Her Excellency Sharon Miller. I should note that they organized everything from the beginning, and they departed in the end of August, leaving me the easiest job, which is talking to you today. Merci encore pour votre service, mesdames. This year's forum is about climate change and food security. We are delighted to partner with a leading institution on that topic, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. On behalf of the CARICOM group in Ottawa, I would like to express my gratitude to IICA's head and staff for the work they have done in the past 3 months to bring you this forum today. I also want to acknowledge other institutions who joined us today, especially Global Affairs Canada, Canada Caribbean Institute, and Canadian International Council. Finally, many thanks to Guyana High Commission to Canada for coordinating the participation of Guyana's Minister of Agriculture to the forum. Thank you, Minister, for being with us. Le forum de cette année est spécial puisqu'il coïncide avec le 50e anniversaire de la communauté Caraïbe. C'est donc une bonne opportunité.
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Le changement climatique et la sécurité alimentaire. Nous allons non seulement débattre de ces questions, mais aussi évoquer des éléments de solution, du moins essayer de mettre des propositions sur la table qui pourraient agrémenter la feuille de route des relations entre le Canada et la communauté Caraïbe sur ces questions. We celebrated in July 2023 the 50th anniversary of the Treaty of Chaguaramas that created the CARICOM community. We've made a lot of progress in different areas, but climate change and food security remain two challenges factors for us Caribbean. During the next hour, we will examine ways to address current and future food security, in addition to promoting family farming and climate-resilient agriculture in the Caribbean. The forum will not only describe the problems, it will also suggest solutions. After the presentation of experts, the public will have opportunity to comment and ask questions because we want this forum to be a space for public discussion on Canada and the CARICOM. I will be moderating the debates with Dr. Jean-Claude Levalet, representative of IICA to Canada. I welcome you all and wish you a successful CARICOM-Canada Policy Forum. Now I invite Dr. Levalet to take the floor for his remarks. Thank you.
Merci, ambassadeur. Bienvenue à tout le monde à l'IICA. Ici, nous sommes donc dans les bureaux de l'IICA Canada. Notre siège social est au Costa Rica. Nous avons des bureaux dans 14 pays des Antilles, incluant Guyane. Et puis, c'est un honneur pour moi de vous recevoir. On a des hauts commissaires, on a du personnel de 7 pays des CARICOM. Ce sont des thèmes vraiment, vraiment importants, l'insécurité alimentaire et le changement climatique, deux gros thèmes pour la région. Et franchement, il y a des ouragans chaque année qui peuvent affecter et ruiner la région en termes d'insécurité alimentaire pour 10 ans, 15 ans, c'est grave. Si ce n'est pas ça, il y a des tremblements de terre. Si c'est pas ça, il y a un volcan qui va... En tout cas, on va en parler de beaucoup de sujets ici aujourd'hui. I'm going to switch to English now. Great pleasure for hosting everyone here at IICA in our home office. We've been here in this building for 50 years in Canada and since 1988 in this very building. I'm the country representative. In terms of housekeeping, we will, after this brief, we have two sections on the agenda. Basically, we will have keynote remarks that will be from the Minister of Agriculture, who sits on our board of directors with Minister Macaulay and all the 34 ministers of agriculture at IICA. From Guyana, we have the Minister Mustafa, who will be introduced by my colleague, country representative Wilma Garnett in Guyana. And then after those 25 minutes, we will go over to a panel discussion with various experts. We're blessed with two ADMs today, one from Global Affairs Canada and one from Agriculture and Food Canada. Their bios will show up in the chat in Zoom. We will not spend a lot of time on introductions. We're more on the meat of subject matter. We'd rather discuss issues. So if you're more curious about who they are, please follow the chat. If you haven't done it yet, you can choose interpretation in French, in Spanish, in Zoom. Just look for the globe on the bottom bar and then pick your language and stick to that language. So I'm pretty done in terms of housekeeping. Feel very happy to partner and co-host with the CARICOM for their fourth policy forum. Topics are goût du jour. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague in Guyana, Wilma Garnett, if you would like to introduce the minister, please.
Thank you very much, JC. Excellencies, good morning. Good morning, everyone, honorable ministers, all those joining us. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa started his professional career in agriculture working to represent farmers in the Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union since 1989 to 2002. He then served as regional chairman and later a member of parliament for a number of years up until 2020. In 2020, he was officially appointed as the Minister of Agriculture of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Since the beginning of his role as the minister, he has taken several steps to strengthen the resilience and sustainability of the agri-food systems of Guyana. His efforts have mainly been invested in strengthening agricultural institutions, improving infrastructure, providing adequate incentives and assistance to agribusiness stakeholders. A major area of focus for the Honorable Minister has been strengthening the drainage and irrigation capacity for more efficient and effective flood control and access and ease of transportation through farms to market access roads. Minister Mustafa actively participates in high-level dialogues, meetings, workshops to develop solutions and strategize on all areas of the sector, specifically de-risking the agriculture sector, access to markets, and improving the disaster response capacity, not only in Guyana, but regionally and internationally. Minister believes that we must transform our food systems to cope with the changing environment and at the same time make an impact on the high food import bill of the CARICOM region. Hence, he holds the position as the chair for the Special Ministerial Task Force for Food Production and Food Security in CARICOM. His dedication to the nations and the regional farmers is a clear indication that he is very capable of positively transforming the sector. His dedication to the job sees him spending most of his days visiting and interacting with farmers across the country. Minister Mustafa is equipped with the education, expertise, and experience to significantly impact the agriculture in Guyana and the Caribbean. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now can welcome the Honorable Minister, Zulfikar Mustafa, Minister of Agriculture of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garnett, for those introductions. Excellencies, heads of CARICOM mission, representatives from the Canadian government, experts in the field of agriculture and climate change, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to address you all at this fourth iteration of the CARICOM-Canada Policy Forum, a significant event as we celebrate the golden anniversary of the Treaty of Chaguaramas under the theme CARICOM 50 years strong, a solid foundation to build on. This treaty has indeed laid a solid foundation, which has since fostered greater regional integration and cooperation among member states of the CARICOM community, which has led to greater economic growth and development. In honor of this momentous occasion, I must commend the CARICOM heads of mission in Ottawa and the IICA Delegation in Canada for hosting this forum. It serves as a testament to the enduring partnership between CARICOM and Canada. The theme for this forum, CARICOM, Food Security in a Climate Challenged World, is both timely and crucial. Food security is a fundamental pillar of prosperity for our Caribbean community, and it rests on four crucial dimensions: availability, access, utilization, and stability, to ensure that every citizen in our region enjoys safe, nutritious, and affordable food, regardless of their socio-economic status. Food security and climate change. The FAO's report on the state of food security and nutrition in the world 2023 provides quite a startling reality of food security in the Caribbean. The Caribbean sub-region is one that is most affected by food insecurity. The prevalence of moderate or severe food insecurity increased from 59.5% in 2021 to 60.6% in 2022. And severe food insecurity increased from 25.7% in 2021 to 28.2% in 2022. Despite these food insecurity statistics show a minimal increase, the fact is it is increasing. More than one of the small island developing states in the Caribbean region has suffered from high food inflation and increased import bills, given the widespread dependency of the sub-region on imported food and agricultural products. This is why Vision 25 by 2025 is so important. The Caribbean must aim at becoming more food secure. This exercise must be sustained and must involve increased production of food consumed within the region. The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, IICA, has said that if the Caribbean is to achieve the goal of zero hunger, the region's food security chain has to be redesigned to include food security as well as water and energy, given that agriculture is highly dependent on both water and energy. The Caribbean region faces many challenges in developing a competitive agri-food system that can contribute to the achievement of its food security and economic goals. One of these challenges is the region's vulnerability to the adverse effect of climate change, rising sea level, extreme weather event, and other natural disasters. At present, we are having a serious problem with the weather condition in terms of a prolonged dry spell that is affecting almost the entire Caribbean region. Rising temperatures, extreme weather events, and changing rainfall patterns threaten the availability of crops and fisheries. Prolonged droughts or excessive rainfall can disrupt access to food making it difficult for vulnerable communities to reach markets or afford basic staples. The impact of climate change even extends to affecting the nutritional value of our produce, affecting utilization and overall health. The government of Guyana have regularly made the call to scale up climate finance to fund national climate adaptation and mitigation initiatives. It is our hope that developed countries will fulfill their pledges and make further effort to scale up climate finance and significantly increase finance for adaptation in line with the priorities expressed by developing countries. It is therefore imperative that attention is given to building climate resilience in order to transform the region's agri-food system. Progress towards achieving the SDGs requires a commitment from all member states to affirmative action with respect to climate change. As Guyana leads the transformation of the CARICOM's agri-food system, a regional commitment has been made by CARICOM heads of government to reduce the regional food import bill by 25% by 2025. We commonly refer to this as Vision 25 by 2025. The heads of government of the Caribbean community, led by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, who has lead responsibility for agriculture, agricultural diversification, and food security in CARICOM, has shown steadfast commitment to ensuring food security in the region by endorsing and implementing the strategy entitled Advancing the CARICOM Agri-Food Systems Agenda, Prioritizing Regional Food and Nutrition Security. The Special Ministerial Task Force on Food Production and Food Security has been addressing the following key priorities area to drive the transformation of the agri-food system. These areas include, but are not limited to, the complete removal of all technical barriers to trade, investment in production, research and development, the implementation of an e-agriculture strategy, measures to promote de-risking of the sector, and the improvement of transport and logistics. The community has therefore been engaged in strengthening regional food system and regional food security. IICA has been very responsive to the priorities of the Special Ministerial Task Force by supporting the development of the regional e-agriculture strategy and the implementation of facets of this strategy through the development of the government-to-government trade and extension service applications. As the region seeks to reduce its $6 billion food import bill by 25% by 2025, several national and regional collaborative projects are being undertaken to ensure food is readily available. Some of these projects include $2 million tuna expansion project in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, improvement of lab facilities in Antigua and Barbuda and St. Lucia, disbursement of over $19 million in new agricultural loans in Trinidad and Tobago, introduction of high-tech berry production in Trinidad. In Guyana, there are production of corn and soya, a new crop. And this here, we are looking to be self-sufficient in producing all the corn and soya needs in another 2 years by 2025, so that we can reduce a $60 million import bill of corn and soya for the livestock industry. The expansion of the aquaculture industry with a focus on brackish water shrimp, prawns, and cage culture. And here again, in this industry, the brackish water shrimp, which is a rural industry, which was on a subsistence, farmers were doing it on a subsistence basis. The government has intervened and inject capital investment in this project, we are seeing an increase in less than 6 months by over 250% in production increase in this area. The Black Belly Sheep project between Guyana and Barbados to increase mutton production. And here again, we are trying to create a Caribbean brand to replace the New Zealand lamb and the Australian lamb coming to the Caribbean so that we can reduce that bill in importing those meat. The establishment of a Guyana-Barbados food terminal has commenced, and also Guyana is looking to build a food hub so that they can be in the midst of those production food exports in the Caribbean. There is also Caribbean Shade House project estimated to be valued at $30 million US. This climate smart project will be the first of its kind to address a wide cross-section of CARICOM in hydroponics. In all countries, climate change has been affecting agriculture production and threatening food security. As we seek to transform our agri-food systems, our approach to increasing food production will play an integral part in tackling climate change, reducing water stress and pollution. Guyana's Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 is designed to guide our adaptation and mitigation efforts in the face of climate change. As climate change is considered in all subsectors, crops, livestock, fisheries, and aquaculture, climate action in the agriculture sector of Guyana have ranged from constructing drainage and irrigation infrastructure, promoting sustainable land, forest, and water use, promoting climate smart agriculture, developing early warning systems, and mangrove reforestation and preservation. Another key aspect is boosting agriculture development in rural communities, especially the hinterland in Guyana. These communities are most vulnerable to the effect of climate change, especially since their livelihoods often depend on the environment. We often look to our small-scale farmers to help maintain food security in our respective countries. They are essential players in the agriculture food system, and so government initiatives to transform agri-food system are extended to benefit rural communities from climate resilience and accelerated economic growth. IICA cooperation and help to countries. We cannot confront food security and nutritional security without simultaneously confronting climate change, confronting our education system and health system, and confronting sustainable development. To this end, we need the support of our development partners like the IICA, IDB, FAO, IFAD, etc., as we understand and seek to implement initiatives that address the linkages between food production and food security. IICA stands as a beacon of hope and innovation for the region, tirelessly working towards the betterment of agriculture, rural livelihood, and sustainable development. A brief exploration of IICA's mission reveals its unwavering commitment to fostering resilience in the face of climate challenges and bolstering food security. Through initiatives such as building climate resilience through climate smart agriculture and technical services for the creation of a gender mainstreaming course and training tools and climate smart agriculture in Guyana, IICA is at the forefront of promoting sustainable farming practices in Guyana that thrive even in the face of changing climate patterns. Other IICA-supported projects in Guyana include biofortification in rice. And here again, we are coming up with a strategy where we are now growing that supplement, the zinc supplement in the rice, the biofortification rice. Technical support to revitalize our coffee and cocoa sector. Brazil-Guyana bilateral with IICA support to address the carambola fruit fly, fishery aquaculture, beef export, etc. Regional sanitary and phytosanitary projects with animal health, plant, and food safety amendments bill. Regionally, IICAs also play a vital role in addressing climate change and food security challenges. In 2023, IICAs completed a project in St. Lucia entitled strengthening the foundation for a climate-responsive agricultural sector in the Caribbean. In Barbados, they have been working to increase market access readiness and resilience for smallholder farmers and agriculture-related small businesses in Barbados to boost food security in the country. Recently, CARICOM and IICA formed an alliance to prioritize actions to combat food and nutrition insecurity and improve climate resilience of agriculture in the Caribbean. The two parties signed an agreement that proposes joint advances in the areas of policymaking for agricultural and rural development, production system, promotion of value chains, resilience of the agricultural sector, and improvement of land use in the Caribbean countries. In this era, where climate change poses an extensional threat to our agricultural food system, as a region, we look forward to technical assistance from IICA as its portfolios continues to extend further to include various projects in several countries. Collaborative efforts with Canada, a nation renowned for its expertise in sustainable agriculture and climate resilience, can provide CARICOM member states with invaluable knowledge and resources to adapt to climate changing environmental conditions. Over the years, the CARICOM countries such as Dominica, Jamaica, St. Lucia, Suriname, and Guyana have benefited from projects through Canada, such as the promotion of regional opportunities for produce through enterprises and linkages, projects, and more recently, the Sustainable Agriculture Caribbean projects led by the World University Service of Canada, aim at increasing the livelihood, opportunities, capacity for women and youth to participate in inclusive, sustainable, and climate resilience agricultural market system. With Canada being efficient in the production of high-value agricultural products and has a wide range of expertise in area, Guyana and CARICOM looks forward to future collaborations and the sharing of knowledge and expertise through coordinated capacity building and technical guidance in the area of policy development and implementation, food safety, facility management, market research, and product development. As the CARICOM region forges ahead to achieve the 25 by 2025 vision, there are numerous areas for collaboration and opportunities for the agri-investment between CARICOM and Canada. From an investment perspective, the CARICOM region's huge food import bill can be seen as a unique opportunity for stimulating production in the region and ramping up cross-border investment in targeted agricultural enterprises. Investors are invited to explore the opportunities to invest in areas across the entire agri-food value chain in the region. The Caribbean needs more than $10 billion to help with its financial concerns. To address the issues of food security and climate change, the region is looking to form partnerships with both regional and international financial institutions and investors. These partnerships will help to provide the necessary support for the Caribbean and ensure a brighter future for all. As such, I urge you all to consider registering for the CARICOM Agri-Investment Forum and Exposition 2023 during October the 20th to the 22nd, taking place under the theme Accelerating Vision 25 by 2025. The event's goal is to raise awareness about transforming CARICOM agri-food system towards resilience, attractive and sustainable economic opportunities for potential investors and contributing to the food and nutrition security of the region. This investment forum and exposition will be held in Guyana during that time I mentioned. Once again, I want to take this opportunity in thanking the organizer for this forum, for inviting me to participate in this event, and I look forward to future engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister, and especially thanks for staying with us in the panel, because after we're going to have the opportunity to make some exchange online with the participants. Okay, you can go.
So the way it works, Minister, very thankful to you for your remarks and great subject matter for us for this panel in terms of challenges, opportunities, solutions to climate change to make the region more climate smart and resilient and ensuring food security in the years to come. Just for this room, for housekeeping, we need to speak a bit louder. This is an environmental mic, so we hear everything. So if there's other noise elsewhere in the room, it makes it the job harder for interpreters. I'd like to maybe invite Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada first to react to what we've heard, and then share some of their initial remarks they had planned. And then we'll go to Global Affairs Canada, Dr. Gray from IISD, and then we could have the minister react to what he's heard from our end. Russell.
Okay, I think I'm close to the mic.
Yes.
I will try to speak slowly and clearly, but begin by thanking Mr. Mustafa for his remarks, from the ambassador and Jean-Charles. And just wish good morning to ambassadors, high commissioners, and distinguished guests gathered here. Let me begin first on behalf of Canada's Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, the Honourable Lawrence Macaulay, to congratulate CARICOM on its 50th anniversary. As I think everyone assembled will know, Canada and the Caribbean community enjoy a deep and dynamic, have enjoyed a deep and dynamic relationship over many decades. On a related note, 50th anniversaries, Canada recently celebrated its 50th anniversary of IICA membership. For Agriculture Canada, IICA's work to improve food security, combat pests and disease like African swine fever, and help farmers in the hemisphere take advantage of agri-food trade and innovation are very important. We recognize and appreciate how Dr. Otero and IICA's leadership have been advocates for viewing agriculture as a source of solutions to climate change. Progress in agriculture is essential in achieving many of the Sustainable Development Goals, as Minister Mustafa had noted. I also can never pass up an opportunity to recognize Jean-Charles Lavallée for his tireless efforts to promote IICA within Canada and also promote partnerships between Canada and its member countries throughout the region. I want to thank him for hosting the event today. We all understand the urgent need to build a sustainable agriculture sector in CARICOM and indeed throughout the world. As has been noted already a number of times this morning, we're seeing an increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather, from droughts to hurricanes to floods to wildfires. Nobody around this table has been spared, and I'm mindful that we're gathered right near the seasonal peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. For Canada, as many of you will know, although we always have wildfires, this year was unprecedented. So far, nearly 170,000 square kilometers of forest have burned. Climate shocks to our agri-food sectors are happening at a time when global food security in many countries is worsening. The Food and Agriculture Organization reported in 2022 that the prevalence of undernourishment in the Caribbean had increased from 14.2% in 2015 to 16.4% in 2021. Russia's intentional attacks on agriculture infrastructure and decision to withdraw from the Black Sea Grain Initiative have, of course, exacerbated this problem at a global level in terms of food supplies, markets, and prices. We in Canada have tried to do our part to contribute to stabilizing the global food security situation, both by working bilaterally with vulnerable countries, as well as through multilateral initiatives, including supporting the Ukraine in the increase in its grain storage capacity and other measures to assist its exports of agri-food products. To promote food security and sustainable agriculture in the CARICOM, Canada can share a number of insights we've learned. Innovations, technical, like more efficient irrigation techniques, social innovations such as cooperatives have been essential to Canada's success in agriculture. Searching for efficiencies has brought environmental benefits too. Over the past 30 years, the output of Canadian agriculture has roughly doubled, while emissions have remained stable. Our ambitions for the future are even greater, where we hope to continue to increase our ability to produce food to feed the world, while not just stabilizing our greenhouse gas emissions, but actually seeing them decline. And vital to Canada's success has been strong trade networks. Canada is a major exporter, but we are also one of the world's largest importers of food. In fact, we were the 6th largest importer in the world in 2022. We value our trading relationship with CARICOM and look forward to expanding this partnership. And indeed have seen a very substantial increase in the value of two-way trade between Canada and the CARICOM and agri-food products over the past couple of years, going from $165 million in 2018 to $433 million in 2022. I'll highlight, for example, that Canada imports fish and seafood from CARICOM members and has seen a major gain from just over $540,000 in imports in 2019 to $2.4 million in 2022. Canada has also appreciated CARICOM countries' willingness to work on resolving market access issues, including work we've done with Jamaica on their beef market in 2022. We're keen to work with all CARICOM members to address market access issues as they come up. And Canada has been engaged technically with the CARICOM. For example, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has delivered technical cooperation activities to CARICOM countries, sometimes in collaboration with IICA. In 2022-2023, CFIA delivered virtual workshops to CARICOM countries on allergen labeling, food fraud, food recalls, and investigations, among other things. And Canada hosted a delegation from the Bahamas just this week to visit CFIA network of laboratories. Canada's also made significant recent investments to try and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from our agricultural sector. Since 2021, we've committed something like $1.5 billion towards this end. Through our on-farm climate action fund, we help farmers adopt management practices that bring the benefits to their land, such as improved soil health, increased crop yields, and increased carbon sequestration. More needs to be done to increase farmers' production and productivity, and to ensure that farmers, who are often among the most vulnerable, can earn better incomes. In Canada, we believe in farmers first, and we have farmers at the forefront in all discussions around the future of agriculture. Across Canada, we've developed a network of what we call living laboratories, the idea being that we bring farmers together to proactively help us set our research programs, advise us on barriers to adopting technical innovations, and allowing our research to take place in real farm conditions. Living labs help farmers and researchers take action on soil health, water quality, management, and crop productivity. For example, our Living Lab in Atlantic Canada has discovered ways for farmers to reduce emissions in potato production by 30% while maintaining yields and costs. To feed the world sustainably, farmers need a global trading regime that is open, transparent, predictable, and based on rules. And we greatly value the fact that we can often find common cause in international fora in this regard with our partners throughout the IICA region. According to the World Trade Organization, trade feeds 1 in 6 people around the world. We'd again like to thank IICA for its work to promote innovation, scientific collaboration, and the importance of science-based approaches to trade. Our discussion this morning is a microcosm of one of the greatest challenges of our time: how to produce more food, sometimes with fewer inputs, and generate fewer environmental impacts, all while increasingly feeling the impact of climate change. Collaboration with farmers, innovation, and trade networks can all make a vital contribution. We need everybody at the table, a community that brings together climate scientists, natural resource specialists, social scientists, policymakers, farmers, and other stakeholders. thank you again for this opportunity. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. Now I give the floor to Mr. Glenn Linder to have the perspective of global affairs.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur. C'est un plaisir d'être ici parmi vous. It's such a great pleasure to be with all these great friends around the table. And I just want to say a particular.
It's a pleasure to be here with all these friends.
Today and to the resident High Commissioners from and ambassadors from CARICOM countries for organizing today's event. I want to, in particular, recognize the participation of Minister Mustafa. Minister, Guyana continues to be an important friend and partner for Canada, and a leader on the agriculture and food security file in the Caribbean community. And of course, Canada benefits from the strong and wonderful Guyanese Canadian population here. You know, this session is extremely timely because our countries are all working together on an upcoming Canada CARICOM summit that will take place right here in Ottawa in the middle of October. And we're honored and looking forward to hosting CARICOM leaders here in Canada for this first summit. We believe that this is the beginning of a revitalized relationship and a demonstration of Canada's commitment to the region, ongoing commitment, and to further broadening and deepening our ties with our Caribbean friends. Food security will certainly be an issue of interest to our leaders, both in and of itself and as a topic that's linked to other shared regional priorities such as climate, economic sustainability, and security. La crise alimentaire constitue un défi majeur en matière de développement mondial et y remédier demeure une priorité pour le Canada. We need to start by recognizing the disproportionate impact of food and input price inflation, supply chain disruptions, and climate change on the Caribbean, which has exacerbated pre-existing food insecurity and malnutrition. We need to be equally concerned about increasing fertilizer and energy prices, which could result in a decline in agricultural productivity and impact economies in the Caribbean and elsewhere. We commend CARICOM for its ambitious 25 by 25 vision to reduce dependency on food imports. We know that Guyana is leading the charge in moving towards this regional goal with CARICOM partners, and the work that it's doing with Barbados, as mentioned by the Minister, in establishing a regional food terminal to facilitate inter-regional food supply and distribution is one example. And Guyana's hosting of the third Agri-Investment Forum and Expo in October, as the Minister mentioned, is yet another testament to the efforts being made to bring together all the relevant players, institutional and private sector, to grow the agricultural sector. We're committed to working with our partners and allies to support efforts that improve food security and nutrition, reduce poverty, and maintain peace and prosperity in the region. As you know, Canada's feminist foreign policy takes into account the perspectives of the poorest, the most vulnerable, and marginalized groups, with a view to delivering on the Sustainable Development Goals. This, importantly, includes women who make up the majority of informal workers in the agricultural and agri-food sector. We're responding to the food security agenda with this front of mind. In the Caribbean, Canada is supporting specific initiatives to promote climate-smart agriculture and prioritizing domestic food and agri-food production practices that increase productivity, are better adapted to climate change, and mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. Our $20 million Sustainable Agriculture in the Caribbean project, for example, enables small Caribbean producers to get produce to market while supporting climate resilience in the process. In Dominica, for example, this means supporting innovative storage facilities to reduce the post-harvest loss of white potatoes, vegetables, and other crops. Women and youth farmers in St. Lucia have learned about and are now seeing the benefits of integrating sustainable approaches such as organic fertilizer and climate-smart technologies such as irrigation to reduce the dependence on rainfall in vegetable production. In Suriname, small farmers are acquiring new skills for protected agricultural production and orchard management. Our Skills to Access the Green Economy project supports technical and vocational training, including through the development and launch of new programs in climate-smart agro-processing in Belize, Jamaica, and St. Lucia, In February 23, we celebrated the graduation of the first cohort of students from one of these programs in Belize. Nous apportons également un soutien important au secteur agricole en Haïti, notamment en aidant les femmes et les jeunes à accroître la production de cacao.
La producción de papas and helping women in the production of cocoa, bean, and potatoes.
The bank's primary pool of concessional resources, to which Canada is the largest contributor. On the multilateral front, targeted initiatives and global funds that receive Canadian contributions and from which some CARICOM countries benefit, such as the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the Green Climate Fund, and the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program, support food security through climate-smart agriculture programs and national agricultural strategies. But climate change, biodiversity loss, and land degradation are having a significant impact on agricultural productivity and agricultural systems. We are committed to working with CARICOM governments to help the Caribbean be better prepared for future climate, economic, and conflict shocks and threaten to further undermine agricultural productivity and food security. You know, the one thing that is absolutely predictable in agriculture and agri-food is unpredictability. So we all need to build in resiliency in what we're doing in our work on food systems. And that's in food systems, in agriculture, and in nutrition issues. So Canada's 5.3 billion international climate commitment is supporting adaptation and mitigation solutions that impact global and local agriculture and food systems in several ways. Our focus on biodiversity, including efforts under the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, also aim to address critical food security issues for the Caribbean, such as fisheries and ocean resources, water supply, and viability of local crops. Last February, Prime Minister Trudeau announced almost $45 million in new initiatives focused on biodiversity protection, climate resilience, and disaster preparedness and recovery to support CARICOM in addressing climate change. In international fora, Canada recognizes the particular economic and climate vulnerabilities CARICOM countries are facing and works to amplify the voices of CARICOM and other small island developing states on broader access to finance and debt sustainability issues to help address development challenges. We'll continue to be a partner in advocating for your priorities on the global stage. Our multifaceted approach also includes providing critical humanitarian food and nutrition assistance following natural disasters and as needed. In Haiti, for example, Canada has taken a comprehensive approach that includes longer-term livelihood intervention to complement emergency food assistance. Notre aide alimentaire et nutritionnelle d'urgence est destinée aux populations les plus vulnérables, tout en appuyant les agriculteurs et les organisations locales à améliorer la productivité.
And the organization and the production of local to improve the productivity, agricultural activity, and to carry out the strategies to stop the cycle of food insecurity and poverty.
Often what makes the difference between life and death. And in countries like Haiti, where Canada supports the school food program, access to food also means giving children a chance for a better future through education. Colleagues, on the trade front, you know, Tom mentioned a lot on the trade piece. I'm not going to go over some of that ground as well. I just want to say that with respect to CARICOM, Canada's unilateral duty-free access for Commonwealth countries, we believe we know is also helping to enhance trade between our countries, including agricultural products, which make up the lion's share of CARICOM exports to Canada, and exploring further opportunities to expand trade and investment in the Caribbean agriculture and agri-food sector could help develop more resilient supply chains. As countries seek to diversify their economies, Canadian companies will be interested in exploring new opportunities, both to improve food security and sustainable economic development at large, including areas such as tourism, infrastructure, and renewed energy. We have a network of trade commissioners throughout CARICOM countries who serve CARICOM countries, and they will be there to ensure those connections are made so investments can be made. Colleagues, We look forward to increasing our collaboration with you and strengthening the resilience of food systems, including through capacity building and climate smart agriculture, developing agri-food value chains, and advancing trade and investment opportunities. You can count on us, including the support of Canadians, who include an important Caribbean diaspora community, to accompany CARICOM in its vision to achieve food security. Thanks very much, Ambassador. Thanks, Joshua.
Thank you.
What fantastic remarks on behalf of Canada, with two different perspectives from agriculture and from Global Affairs Canada. I've been very much enjoying this. I'd love to hear from Dr. Orville Gray, and then we'll go to the Minister for reactions and additional remarks. Dr. Gray, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this program. All protocols observed. I'm happy to have a little bit of conversation from my end with respect to climate change and agriculture in the Caribbean. One of the things I quickly looking to prepare for this was looking at the fact that we stated each year Caribbean imports $5 billion worth of food. That is very much significant. When you look back, for instance, at the 71st special meeting of COTED, there were a lot of conversations that were held there with respect to confronting climate change, and particularly the agricultural sector. At the time, we were dealing with two major hurricanes, two Category 5 hurricanes, that's Irma and Maria. And I recall that the agricultural sectors for both Barbuda and Dominica were totally decimated. The impact to Dominica alone was in excess of 200% of GDP, and that's just one climate shock. There's a lot that is happening in the region that we need to be very careful of when it comes to the climate change issues that we're looking at. Listening to the representatives from Canada and noting the contribution that Canada has been doing, looking at in 2022, for instance, the Canada government came out and specifically stated that climate change has already had a negative impact on agriculture, fisheries, health, tourism, water availability, and energy. And women and girls and other vulnerable groups suffer the most. And by virtue of doing that, they put forward their enabling gender responsive disaster recovery, climate and environmental resilience in the Caribbean project Engender. So, listening to the responses, it's clear that Canada is trying to do its best to help the region to support on its climate change challenges. But I want to, delve a little further to go back. In 2020, CARICOM revealed its 25 in 5 plan to reduce the region's 5 billion food import. I was listening earlier when the minister spoke to what the budget looks like for assistance to support the Caribbean region, particularly as it relates to agriculture. From a climate change adaptation perspective, the budget for adaptation is only going to increase. And this is where I think, CARICOM will have to double down and work with the various member states to look at the climate change plans that are being put in place, look at the vulnerabilities of the region, and look at how we are preparing. There are a number of countries that already have a national adaptation plan, and there are a number of countries that already have a specific climate change agriculture sector plan. But there are still gaps. And as the minister has pointed out, there is a vast requirement in terms of resources that are required to support the region in enabling it to be able to adapt to the challenges of climate change. Luckily for us this year, there have not been so far, knock on wood, any major impact from a hurricane. But there has been significant impact from the perspective of droughts. So again, there's a lot that is happening and a lot that we have to take into consideration. I know that, for instance, the CARICOM plan is calling for a reimagining of value chains, employing young adult populations, instituting resilient farming practices within the region to create that paradigm shift. And, the shift will revive farmers' livelihoods, address climate change, and develop sustainable food systems across the Caribbean. This 25 in 5 plan, really needs to be a 25 in 1 plan. because that's how important it is for us to build agricultural security in the Caribbean. You know, the challenges that we have, and when you look at, for instance, the value chains and look at the logistics in moving products around the world right now, the cost of that has significantly increased, not particularly by climate change, but by other impacts. When you add climate change on top of that, in a region where we import so much, it becomes a huge challenge. If the region is going to speak to addressing climate change impacts and, you know, adapting and also mitigating the impacts of climate change, then we also have to look at, for instance, what does it mean for our importing into the region? How are we going to, you know, address the emissions aspect of the importation of agricultural goods and services into the region? While the region's emissions total is minute, we still have a part to play. But I encourage our colleagues there representing from Canada and elsewhere in the developed world to recognize that adaptation is the Caribbean's priority. And we need a lot of support. The ministers outlined what the budget looks like, but that support is only going to increase year on year. And it's not a nice progressive increase. It's an exponential increase year after year as we continue to miss the temperature targets. So, you know, I am expressing great support here for what the ministers have stated, but also internally as a region, we have to look within and see what we're doing. There's an estimated 2.7 million of the 7.1 million people that are food insecure in the English-speaking Caribbean. And this came out in a study in 2020. In terms of a more global assessment done by Nature Climate Change, they looked at the data between 1961 to 1920, and global agricultural productivity has declined by about 21%. In the Latin American and Caribbean region, it's one of the largest, 26%. So there is a lot that is going on in the region and a lot that we need to get right now. You know, IICA has been doing a lot, and I want to, you know, commend IICA on the work that they've been doing. IICA has, you know, is now an accredited entity to the Green Climate Fund. So it means, therefore, we have another entity in the region and one that can specifically support us on our climate change projects. So, you know, what I'd encourage, you know, member states to look at in working with IICA in particular is to look at those agricultural plans in terms of climate change that are being put on the ground. What are those priority intervention measures that need to be put in place? How can we as a region create an agricultural adaptation program that has, you know, the priority projects under that IICA can support in a streamlined manner? The idea of just developing a project one-off and implementing it is something that we need to move beyond, because it's a piecemeal and patchwork sort of approach. We need a dedicated strategy to how the Caribbean is going to achieve this 25 in 5, but also become food secure by 2050, which is what CARICOM has been articulating. So I'm encouraging our colleagues here to also work, you know, not just with IICA, but with other entities in the region. The 5 Cs are there. There are a number of entities such as development banks in various countries that are now looking to get accredited to the GCF or already have become accredited that can support on these ventures. We need to look at what our vulnerabilities are and how we're going to build resilience with our partners, such as Canada, among others, to really bring resilience to the people of the region. We love our food. We love our variety. We love our spices. We need to figure out how we're going to protect that with the ambit of climate change. And I'm encouraging everyone to just look to see how we can support each other in making this a reality. The climate change plans that we're putting in place need to be implemented and implemented now. We need resources institutionally, human resources, as well as technology to drive the change that the Caribbean is looking for. And I mean, as the minister points out, I'm encouraging Canada and others to look to see how they can strengthen that support and bring greater resources to bear to build the resilience of the region in partnership with this long history that we do have. And I'll stop there for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. Thank you for asking some very important question. And now I would like to go back to Minister Mustafa and for his reaction before going to the public.
Very much. And first of all, let me commend the three gentlemen who spoke. I think those were very, very good interventions that were made and recommendations. And I think some were answered in my remarks that I have made just now. But the topic that we are discussing, promoting food security and sustainable agriculture for climate resilience food systems across the Caribbean community, this is a very, very important topic for us in the Caribbean. And as I said, that when you look at the Caribbean region as a whole, and we are seeing today, we are seeing the will of the Caribbean leaders that are now in the forefront to resolve this problem. And when I say the will, because at the ministerial task force level, I can tell you that all member states now are making a strive very, very effectively to combat what has happened over the last century, so to speak. And when I say the willpower is there, we are also seeing policy that are being crafted to ensure that we implement the system that we want to resolve the crisis that is the Caribbean is faced with. So if the Caribbean is to remain committed to these issues and the SDGs, it will require greater attention to be paid to its food systems, especially in terms of ensuring food security. And we heard all the contributors just now who spoke talk about this food security. This is very important. We have seen what has happened during the pandemic. Large economies in the world were unable to procure food for their population because there was a scarcity of food. There was a scaling down of production. And many Caribbean countries suffer in that line. In Guyana here, we are very fortunate that we are producing 60% of the food we are consuming. But as a government, we are not satisfied with that. That is why we are embarking on new crops, things like corn and soya. We are now doing trials for wheat. We are going to high value crops, things like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, those things. We have been in, for example, in 2021, Guyana would have imported $2.6 billion in these high value crops for the hospitality industry. Now what we are doing, because as you rightly said, one of the panelists just now mentioned about bringing young people, getting young people involved in agriculture. What we have been doing to do that, because young people today, and all of us can testify to this, young people today sees agriculture as a menial job. Although they went to the institution, they would have graduated as agronomists, they would have a bachelor degree in agriculture. They don't want to do agriculture. They rather to do it behind a desk, something to do like clerical work. We have to change that perception if we want to be food secure. Not only the Caribbean region, but I'm talking about around the world. That is the same perception. Young people see agriculture as a menial job. Now in Guyana, with the guidance from His Excellency the President, we have embarked on a new way to attract young people in this sector. For example, we are making agriculture now more modern. We are making less labor intensive. We are making it more attractive. We are giving young people more incentive. These are things that we can put policies that we can implement to help combat the problems that the world is faced with, especially vulnerable regions like the Caribbean region. And I am happy to say that to date, we have had a number of young people in Guyana and different parts of the Caribbean that are getting involved in agriculture. So much so, in the Caribbean Week of Agriculture that will be held next month in Bahamas, we have a youth forum to deal and discuss agricultural issue on young people. So these are very important, as I said, that food security, combating the threat posed by climate change, and being able to mobilize financing for climate resilience agriculture is very, very important. Food security should not stop at increasing production, but should be more inclusive of increasing accessibility and improving the nutrition of all persons. That should be the aim in these small island states. In ensuring food security, there must be a scope for sustainable employment opportunities for youth that I have been talking about, women, and other vulnerable groups. For example, in projects, new agricultural projects, we have 20 and 35% youth and women. So that must be compulsory in all projects that are undertaken by the Ministry of Agriculture. For example, the Black Belly Sheep project, we have 35% women, especially single parents, to be involved and derive benefit from this project. We have started a cut roast project, and that is changing the life of single parents, single female parents. Now the cut roast project, we started in Guyana. We are seeing opportunities economically being dished out to these vulnerable groups. So these are things that government will have to implement to ensure that we combat these issues being being experienced by small island states and the Caribbean region. And as I said, in Guyana, there are a number of initiatives we have taken to deal with this issue. I just spoke about the Agriculture and Innovation Entrepreneurial Program, the President's Program initiative. We use shade houses, technology for high-value crops. And I mentioned the crop. I talk about the Black Belly Sheep project, farmers with 20 and 35% representation of youth and women. And there, the Cut Roast project aims at creating job opportunity, especially for single mother, with the intent of reduced imports too, and meeting local demands. Guyana, like many other Caribbean neighbors, understands the urgency of addressing the nexus of food security and climate resilience. Our region is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, with rising sea level, extreme weather event, and shifting rainfall pattern. We have experienced this in Guyana. When I became the Minister of Agriculture, 4 months after I became the Minister of Agriculture, we have had the most devastating floods that almost wipe out the entire agriculture sector in Guyana. Almost 80% of the agriculture sector was destroyed. We had to ensure that we go back, help the farmers, give them help from the government, and make cash available too. So it put in a strain on the economy, whereas those money could have used to do other infrastructural development. That is why, so importantly, I'm very passionate of working with stakeholders so that we can implement and try to start the crop insurance. I am now in discussion with a number of entities, companies like Grace Kennedy and other companies in the Caribbean, where we can start crop insurance so that farmers can at least have compensation for their crop rather than depend on government. It is imperative to that CARICOM region embrace climate smart agriculture, which marries traditional farming knowledge with innovative approaches, because this is very important. And this is where education comes in. We have to educate and work with the rural farmers. We must at all times know that sometime in rural community, these farmers don't have the expertise to do things that we want to do in a modern way. They normally do things how their grandfather and foreparents used to do it centuries ago. We are now changing that culture, not only in Guyana, but the Caribbean. Who would ever expect countries' economy that were built on tourism and oil and gas are now moving directly into agriculture? For example, Barbados. I am very happy to talk about Barbados because I have been involved directly there. Barbados now they are now developing their shrimp industry, where they are now cultivating brackish water shrimp with the help of Guyana. They have started the Shade House project. We are now working with Trinidad and Tobago to resuscitate their rice industry. Not so long ago, about 2 months ago, I have sent 100 tons of rice seed to Trinidad and Tobago to ensure they start back their rice industry. I have been working with a number of countries in the Eastern Caribbean to help them to develop their agricultural sector. So when I said that there's a will, the will is there and work have started tremendously. And when you look at the achievement, I think we are moving in the right direction. In another 2 years, I am very optimistic as chair of the Ministerial Task Force that we can achieve the 25% that we set ourselves. and we have been moving rapidly to date. When you look at the achievement, I think we are very close to about 60% of the production level that we set ourselves for 2025. So that's a great achievement for a region in the Caribbean. So these are very, very important issues that we are discussing. As I mentioned in my keynote address to Guyana Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 is designed to guide our adaptation and mitigation effort in the face of climate change. As climate change is considered in all subsectors, we know that it affects all the subsectors. Climate action in the agriculture sector of Guyana have been ranged from constructing drainage and irrigation infrastructure. Mr. Garnett would have mentioned that in his introduction. But what we are doing in Guyana, because Guyana is very challenging in terms of drainage, Guyana is 5 feet below the level of the sea. Commissioner George will tell you that. And we are very challenged in draining our system in a gravity flow. We have to now implement more pump stations. We have to do mega projects, and that we are embarking on. And those projects call for a lot of financing. And if we are talking about the backbone of the food system, our farmers are the backbone of our food system, and we will continue to empower them with knowledge that we have to continue to do that. I mentioned that. We have to continue to empower them with knowledge and tools needed to adapt to climate challenges of climate change. Those capacity building initiatives, training programs, and access to climate information, we are ensuring that our agricultural communities are equipped to thrive in the ever-changing climate. Those are things we have started. We have been moving across the country, and in various areas in the Caribbean, we are seeing other countries are doing it. To this end, we look forward to the continuous support of IICA and across the CARICOM region as they engage in projects that promote sustainable farming practices in the face of climate challenges and bolstering food security. There are a lot of work to be done. IICA, like many of the international partners in CARICOM region, has summarized in every finding that the Caribbean is specifically vulnerable to the issue of climate change. As such, we call on every international institution, international partners to help us champion the establishment. And this is very important. I'm here talking for the entire Caribbean, an establishment of a vulnerability fund for comparative analysis of our competitive advantages individually and collectively. So we know where our advantages and disadvantages lies and how we can address them together. This is a very important issue and we should look at it. We look forward to further improving our bilateral relation with countries like Canada. I've been working very, very closely with your High Commissioner in Guyana. He has been a very, very valuable partner for us. And I want to encourage your agricultural experts and investors to explore the abundant opportunities that exist to support food security and promote sustainable agriculture across CARICOM. The publication From Crisis to Opportunity, an innovative approach to food security in the Caribbean by His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, our President, alludes to the following strategic policy recommendations to guide the region in prioritizing effort that will lead to greater food security. And some of those measures that were highlighted by His Excellency are establishment of a regional agro-tech campus, which will focus on the development of entrepreneurship, specifically startups in life science field, with supporting advanced and specialized training of researchers and other technicians in the area of agricultural and environmental, biotechnology, and food and nutrition. The development of a CARICOM cross-border agri-food investment strategy to support production corridors that requires the following: updating land use policies in respective member state, mapping of production activities in the region, addressing taxation, trading and quotas policies, reducing regulatory and administrative border procedure, and at the national level, create a national agricultural catastrophe fund with linkages to the regional Caribbean catastrophe risk insurance facility, creation of a regional trade, transportation, and logistics hubs or corridors to foster greater interregional trade. If there be, and I want to make this very clear, if there has ever been a time for CARICOM to act decisively and as a cohesive unit, it is now, in the light of the need to ensure that we do not deviate further from our commitment to the SDGs. I want to take this opportunity to thank the CARICOM Head of Mission and IICA Canada for organizing this event that allows us for fostering of cooperation and knowledge sharing as we are collectively working to strengthen our food system. And I am suggesting that forums like these should be held very regularly. We should have regular exchanges of officials from Canada and various countries in the Caribbean. We should share best practices so that we can ensure to boost our agricultural sector. As I said at a forum yesterday, that we can have all the natural resources in the world. Today, Guyana is an emerging oil and gas producing country. Guyana is the hot topic around the world with the fastest growing economy. But if we don't continue to develop our agriculture sector, if we do not continue to ensure that we put the necessary resources in this important sector, then we can never be food secure. And that is important because what we are saying as a government, we are doing it from 2020 to 2023, we have seen 150% increase in budgetary allocation to the agriculture sector. Why we are doing it? Because we see this sector as a sector to bring us food security. We see this sector as a sector that we can rely on so that our people can live a life that is healthy, a life that we can take them out of hunger, and we can bring prosperity to the Caribbean and to the world. With those few remarks, I want to again commend the organizer for this program. I want to commend the interventions that were made by the three gentlemen just now. I think those were very important issues that were raised. And if we work together and continue discourse like this, I think we can bring solution to the crisis in the world and in the Caribbean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. On the contrary, we are very thankful for your time, and we know how busy you can be. IICA is happy to serve as a bridge between and strengthening those relationships between Canada and the region. I also was thinking about many of the issues you were raising, which are relevant here in Canada. The youth are leaving the sector. There's a labor gap of over 60,000 workers just in Canada alone. We do have temporary foreign workers that come in. I was also thinking of Canada's business risk management as a tool for insurance that could be a model for Guyana and the region. But we can go into those issues at another time. I wanted to react also to Dr. Gray's talk and speak to an example of nature-based solutions that we've been working on with Caribbean Biodiversity Fund using vetiver grass. It's that's like 6-8 feet tall. It stops land degradation, especially in the mountain islands, and it becomes an economic resource for women to prepare beauty products to build homes, and it's an income generator. So there are lots of ways that are win-win. I wish we had more time. We do have questions. Like I see in the chat we've had questions. So please raise your hand online in Zoom. In this room, please raise your hand. We will use the next, say, 7-8 minutes to answer any questions. And then we'll ask the High Commissioner, His Excellency Clark from Barbados, to provide some closing remarks. One question we did get for Global Affairs about the summit next month. Are these themes, the person didn't say who they were, but the food security, agriculture, will they be part of the discussions at the summit, and when will the summit be held?
The summit will be the 17th to the 19th of October here in Ottawa. In terms of the specific subjects to be discussed, this is a partner. Canada's hosting, but this is a partnership with CARICOM and CARICOM countries. So we'll be finalizing the agenda. But Canada is the host, but not completely in the driver's seat. This is a group effort to come up with the agenda. So the specific subjects are being negotiated between Canada, CARICOM, and CARICOM countries. But you know, I think without giving away any secrets, I don't think that leaders will get together and not talk about food security. It is so essential to Caribbean countries, to CARICOM, and to Canada's relationship with the region.
Fantastic. Any questions for the minister or other panelists from the room? We had another question from the room, Minister, about sharing best practices, lessons learned, experiences among Caribbean community at large in this area. How can we foster additional learnings or training and support among the different 14 countries?
I mentioned some of the best practices and some of the cooperation that we have embarked on already. And what we have been doing, like, for example, I just want to refer back earlier. In the 80s, 70s, and 80s, Guyana had a school called Repaha. And today it has been renamed the Guyana School of Agriculture. I am now working with member states. We have started scholarship for young people in the Caribbean, not only Guyanese, because it was there only for Guyanese. Since I became Minister of Agriculture, we are having people from St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados. That's an institution that we will help to train people in the Caribbean so that what we are doing, best practices in terms of agriculture, in terms of equipping them, that's the way we're working out. What we are doing in Guyana and the successes that we are getting in Guyana, we are sharing that in the Caribbean. I just spoke about the rice cooperation with Trinidad and Tobago. I talk about the shrimp project that we have with Barbados. Barbados is sharing their expertise with the black belly sheep production, the tuber and root production, root crops. I have been working with the Eastern Caribbean countries to share those expertise with them. So it's a work in progress, and I think it's continuing and it's expanding. And that will be also, I'll be looking forward to places like Canada to share some of those best practices, because we know those economies are developed and they have their sectors are far advanced than our Caribbean sector. So I'm hoping also that they can share their best practices with us, which they have been started to do. And I am looking forward for a continuation of that so that we can move the process and move this sector in a more advanced way.
I'll just maybe pick up on the minister's point that we have talked already today about some efforts we have on regulatory cooperation. Of course, as you develop an agriculture sector, robust regulatory systems to protect plant health, animal health, human health are important not only in their own sake, but also to facilitate trade and export. It's something our Food Inspection Agency has a long history of working with partners around the world to do. And I'm sure there's opportunities for deeper collaboration there. I did want to pick up on with the scientific cooperation, talk about some of the research we're doing. I mean, our researchers won't have deep expertise in cocoa, but you know, there are potatoes and other crops where we're active, and there's probably again, we have memorandum of understanding with partner countries around the world, and we should further explore those opportunities. The other point I wanted to pick up on was with respect to Minister Mustafa had mentioned efforts to develop crop insurance, and you touched on this, Jean-Charles, that Canada's had crop insurance since the 1940s. We have very deep experience in working with private insurers to bring about crop insurance and other risk management tools. For countries that are looking to set up similar systems, we'd be very happy to work with them and share the benefit of our experience. So I just wanted to make that offer as well.
Dr. Gray, any final remarks on your end?
Thanks very much. Yeah, I mean, I'll put IICA in the spot on this one, just to say that from the member states, I think greater cooperation with IICA, collaboration rather with IICA, can lead to strengthening of the systems, the work that you're doing with the youth and women in particular, where agriculture is concerned, building on the work that IICA did with the Readiness Project. That was funded by the GCF with 9 CARICOM countries supporting. which was looking to build a strengthened foundation for a more climate responsive agricultural sector in the region. Each country in the region has at least $1 million available to them per year from GCF to address some of these challenges and to strengthen some of these systems. And IICA is well poised, among other entities such as 5Cs in the region, to support on this, particularly where agriculture is concerned. And to, as Minister, as you pointed out, to find a space to build that support, to get the youth back into agriculture, get them back in and build the technological aspects of agriculture, so you can, bring forward the climate smart agricultural practices that are expected, and have the youth driving that aspect of the program, and be able to achieve that 25 in 5 in a reasonable time frame, and maybe be able to even strengthen it beyond the 25 in 5 to a much higher impact target. So I think there's a lot that can be done. Sometimes we look at these windows and think that they are not significant to support us, but I think the fact that 9 CARICOM countries could come together working with IICA to address some of these agricultural challenges, it means that there is room for even greater collaboration. And now that they do have the accreditation status, there's a lot more that can be done to bring adaptation and build resilience in the region. So I'm looking forward to IICA being able to capitalize on its position and take it forward in the years to come. Thank you.
I appreciate the plug there, Dr. Ray. I wasn't expecting it, but yes, we're very proud, honored to be accredited. And we're strong promoters of Canada's FIAP. This is one of the better models out there, and we have our own FIAP. It's more women and youth, so it's a bit different, but very lucky to collaborate with Canada in the region, in the Americas. They've been a strong partners of IICA of the region. We're run out of time. We have 2 minutes left. I would like to just add to everyone's agendas. October 17th, IICA is co-hosting with IFAD and CICA, Central American Regional Body, an event on agritourism as a development solution in the Caribbean and Central America post-COVID. So that will be at the Agricultural Museum, October 17th, the first morning of the summit in Ottawa. And it's hybrid, so we will have a couple of hundred people already registered. So we're really excited about this one. Our thanks to IFAD for the funding. I would like to then now invite High Commissioner Clark from Barbados to provide closing remarks.
Thank you. This was surely an excellent discourse from some of the best in the field of agriculture. Mr. Minister, first of all, your speech was well received. Food security is vital to the human survival. The high cost of import food is a reality and must be addressed. When this is twinned with the impact of climate change, it presents a dynamic challenge which must be addressed as well. Food security is of the highest priority at this time. We wish you well as you seek to reduce the import bill of the Caribbean by 2025 by 25%. You mentioned the Black Belly Sheep project between Barbados, Guyana, and other strategies that the region is undertaking to ensure food security. Thank you for your leadership. You said that IICA stands as a beacon of hope for the region, and we agree with you that this organization is vital to improve the climate resilience and improvement of our survival. The Sustainable Agriculture Project introduced by Canada is of importance to the region, and we look forward to further investment by 2025. The region must form partnership to realize the vision, as you said, Minister, by 2025. You said also that the leadership of the CARICOM has strong will. Despite this, Ghana now producing more than 60% of your needs, but you said you must do more. You also felt that there's a need to get young people involved in agriculture. A problem, according to you, is universal. He said that Ghana is working with the region partners and is satisfied that important things are happening for which he is satisfied. But you need vulnerability fund and stronger partnership to sustain this, and you hope that Canada can produce this. I would like to thank the panel, Mr. Tom Roser, for your vital, insightful, dynamic presentation. You mentioned that climate change, wildfires, and floods have contributed to the problem of food security. You also said that cooperatives in agriculture has been vital for Canada's success. Canada's import from CARICOM has increased, according to you, over 400 million by 2023. You said that Canada is helping the CARICOM to overcome emissions and important climate change problems. Dr. Glenn Linder said that the discussion is coming in a timely manner, especially in light of CARICOM-Canada Summit next month. But we have to be concerned on the rising cost of fertilizers and other inputs into agriculture. The Sustainable Development Goals are important, while domestic smart agriculture is vital to the survival of this sector. Special Development Fund to the CDB is helping the region. That's what you said. Canada is prepared to help the region in biodiversity, protection of disaster protection fund, and you also pledge Canada is spending $44 million to help the region. Access to food for children is also of importance to the region, and Canada is helping in that area. We look forward for further cooperation with Canada driving force. I want to thank Dr. Orville Gray for his insightful presentation. He said that climate change has a negative impact on the sector, that we have to, and said we have to double down to get resources to adapt to the challenges of climate change, especially the drought that the region is experiencing at this time. The challenge is for us to adapt to the reality of climate change and other important costs that is affecting over 2.3 million people in the English-speaking Caribbean, while in the other parts of the region, it might be even higher. We have to build resilience with our partners and support each other. We need technology to help strengthen the resources of the region. I'd like to thank IICA, Dr. Charles Valley, and also our co-chair, the excellent Wilbert Atras, Ambassador of Haiti, and the Dean of the CARICOM, for ably leading this delegation. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Les mots de la fin?
But thank you so much, colleagues. And we had a very wonderful forum. This is exactly what we expected to do. And we are the group of the CARICOM Heads of Mission in Canada. We don't do a lot of public manifestations, but from time to time, I think 3 times a year, we had the public event we're doing. So stay in touch with us for the next forum next year. Thank you so much, IICA. Thank you, Dr. Levalet, and thank you for all our presenters.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Avec plaisir.